Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Raja Hassan and I have Mr. Colin with us here today. Hello sir. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are having a podcast for 4th Pakistan Engineering Council International Deans Conference, and we are discussing how we can bridge academia and industry, and we are so blessed to have esteemed Mr. Collins with us because he has a vast industry experience. So first of all, sir, I'd like to ask you that how, in your experience, you have found the overlap between industry and academia. Is it good? Does it lag?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to comment on these sort of subjects. As you'll be aware, this has been discussed during the conference, and I think it's very creditable for the Pakistan Engineering Council to raise these subjects. They're not easy subjects to deal with, and I think that the whole issue between academics and industry was quite well summarized earlier in the conference when one of the co-chairs, I think, said there are two silos, one industry and one academia. And that is unfortunately my experience. Having said that, over the years, it's got better. When I first started, it was absolutely closed silos. These days, there are elements of integration. And it's that integration which is absolutely important and vital to the whole process of getting accreditation, getting a recognition for young graduate engineers. And again, the Pakistan Engineering Council have gone a long way towards this. They were or are signatories of the Washington Accord, which allows great mobility for the graduates to go around the world with their qualifications from Pakistan. And that's great stuff. I think the other thing I would say is that the reason that there are silos is really one of understanding one another. I think we're all too fond of doing things that we do day by day. It's easy. It's the soft option. We love doing that. We'll do this, we'll do that. And when somebody says something different or asks you something different, there's an automatic challenge. And many will go, ooh, 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 ooh. Maybe not, because I don't know. And that's the biggest thing about academia, is that industry doesn't understand academia. It is also true that academia doesn't understand industry, but it's not quite as marked. It is much more that the industry doesn't understand academia. And really, we need to have a coming together of the whole sector, whereby academia and employers, industry, come together and work towards the goal that we all want, and that is that we want the best graduates. As an employer, I want the best graduate. I'm sorry, but the best do the deal for me. And that's what I want. From your perspective as a higher education institution, you want the best graduates because it reflects well on your establishment. It reflects well on your teaching and all those associated elements. So we all want the same goal, and that should be the starting point for discussions. Just understand industry and academics. We want the same thing. Now, when you move towards understanding that, then you can start to sort of say, well, from an academic point of view, what do you really want from us as academics? What subjects do you want us to teach? What disciplines do you want us to teach? Or more importantly, what subjects are slightly less important? Because any industry representative will say, I want the best graduate, which means he or she knows everything about all disciplines. There are few people capable of achieving that, so we need to recognize that, and you can't in any event cater for all the disciplines in your curriculum. It is just not possible. You haven't got the time in your curriculum. And this is where your accreditation and the Pakistan Pakistan Engineering Council come in. They have this accreditation process where they look at the critical elements of the requirements, and based on learning outcomes, based on the competencies. I think I've said that correctly. Competencies.
Right.
And attributes that are set out in the IEA's requirements. And Professor Elizabeth Taylor spoke about that earlier this morning. But within that, there is a huge amount of flexibility. And it's that flexibility that you want to discuss with industry. If you were talking to an industry specializing in electronics, it would probably, the requirements would be slightly different to somebody who's looking for somebody in the systems, or a systems analyst even. So you've got to understand that it depends on who you talk to. But the first step for breaching this, I'm afraid to say, has to come from the academics in order to break the ice and say, look, we'll come in and we'll talk to whoever you want in your business or companies or industry, and we'll explain, or try and explain, what we do and how we do it and what requirements we have to meet. Those requirements include those set out by PEC, and we have certain flexibilities within those, because it's not absolutely constrictive. There is some flexibility.
Thank you so much. I'd like to point out here that while you were talking and speaking, and you were like proposing a quality enhancement and improvement method, so it started with a line and then it became a circle. I'll explain to you how. Because as an academician, we want our graduates to have jobs or maybe create jobs, right? And in order to do that, we have to comply with the policies of the accreditation bodies, and they are set so that our graduates are produced distinguished peoples, so that industry would prefer them, right?
Yes.
Right? So would you say that if our accreditation bodies, when they evaluate us, they check our curriculum to reinforce these methods, that we consistently go to the industry and we ask, what do you want, how the curriculum is changing, how which proportion of the courses you want, how much higher or advanced we have to go, and how shallow we have to touch some subjects? If the accreditation bodies fix us, maybe it is attainable. Would you say that?
I understand your position, and it's one that many universities struggle with. But the most important thing here is you need to talk to the Pakistan Engineering Council accreditation people to understand precisely. It's just you and them. To understand precisely how their accreditation works or could work if you changed a few things. And that, or those changes might have arisen because of your discussions with local, well, not just local, but industry in general. And I think the important thing is that the accreditation process does take account of industry involvement. It is part of the process. It is important that you have interaction with industry. Now, one university to another, it will vary enormously. In my own experience, I can say that there are universities that have very good interaction with their what's known as industrial advisory boards, IABs are the common names for them. That they have excellent relationships with them. They have a working relation which is integrated. So there is a flow of information from both sides and it overlaps. That's great. That's marvelous. That flow of information will entail lots of things. It will involve the IAB and industry generally on advice relating to what you should or should not include in your programs. That's one thing. They will also offer advice on project work, coordinated multidisciplinary projects being key in engineering these days. They will offer advice on all manner of related topics. Now, as I said, there are some very strong IABs and there are some that are slightly less strong, insofar as it is a little bit of one-way traffic that you might meet them, say, once, maybe twice a year, and you will tell them what you're doing with your curriculum, how your staff are getting on, and that you've got loads of students, but unfortunately you've not got very good employment rates. That's a one-way street. I'm sure, without doubt, that the accreditation board from PEC will want to see a more active, proactive discussion. And the proactiveness, I'm afraid, will, in general, have to come from academia.
Thank you so much for your insight. And when you talk about IABs, we have IACs. It is basically an abbreviation for Industrial Advisory Committees, and we do that. And from what I can conclude from your discussion, that yes, when we have a channel with industry, then we need to strengthen it. And whenever we are under evaluation from our accreditation committees and our accreditation bodies, we should also ask their help in order to strengthen it and in order to reinforce it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins, for your time. And this concludes our session. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.